I did mention that we have Anthony Bowens in studio with WrestlePro, and dude, absolute pleasure having you on the air.
Well, thank you guys for having me, and Mark, congratulations on the Hall of Fame.
Well, thank you, man.
Anthony, I've known Anthony for quite some time because dating back to IWF, you were with part of Kevin Knight's training facility going back, man, that was what, about 6-7 years ago?
5 years ago. That was actually 3-4 months into the business at that point.
Wow. Yeah. So tell us what you've been up to, man, and talk to us about WrestlePro.
Well, I guess for anyone who's not aware, my name's Anthony Bowens. I've been on the independent wrestling scene for the last 5 years or so. I've had the opportunity of working for some of the biggest companies on the East Coast, with primarily based out of WrestlePro, New Jersey. I've been fortunate enough to perform overseas in England, Impact Wrestling, NXT. Outside of wrestling, I'm a commercial actor, fitness model, and last year in January, I quote-unquote came out of the closet, and so now I'm trying to help inspire others become more comfortable with themselves and create visibility for the community via entertainment.
Yeah, and Anthony, it's funny. I walk into Walgreens and I see pictures of you. You're on the cover of magazines now, and you're in featured in People online and everything like that. And talk about this message, because Mark and I talk a lot about bullying and being yourself and being honest, and that's been a tough road for you, Anthony.
Yeah, it was tough for a long while. I mean, I was struggling with this since probably like 2008, 2009, so it's been a long time, and I finally feel almost like a wall's been broken down. I finally be free to be honest with others, and I'm trying to preach that message as much as possible, because there's a ton of people out there, whether you know it or not, that are experiencing that exact same thing, but they have this fear of being judged by society, so trying to help them become a little bit more comfortable.
And you came out, like you said, you're bisexual, correct? Now, the one thing that I was reading about is that, and this is something that maybe a lot of people aren't aware of, but it's like you come out and you say that you're bisexual, and then you get comments and negativity from the straight community, but you also get comments and negativity from the gay community. It's it's like being able to make that statement of who you are. It does come with some criticism.
There's always going to be negativity no matter what you do in life, so I try my best to kind of push that aside. I'm not really focused on labels or anything like that. I'm just trying to, I came out to help people.
Mm-hmm. And to be
in your style, from a wrestling standpoint, how do you consider yourself? Are you a bruiser? Are you a finesse guy? Are you like holds and grappling?
I like to think I'm a little bit of everything. Outside of high flying, I can't. I don't want anything.
Well, you're a big dude.
Yeah, I don't want anything to do with the top rope.
let's keep your feet on the ground.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's the first thing I tell big guys. I know it looks real cool to stand up there on the top and swan dive out, but it's gonna hurt.
It's funny you say that, because growing up, I was a big Jeff Hardy fan. So my first couple of years in the business was like, I'm gonna hit a swanton. So I went up there, he moved, and I hit the mat. I'm never doing that again.
I don't think I want to do this. No swantons for me.
Yeah.
Since you made the announcement, since you came out, have you felt like a wave of a positive, or do people look at you differently when you go out now to perform and be a wrestler? Is it any different? Do you feel different? Has there been a different reaction?
I feel different because I feel like I don't have subconsciously, I don't have these walls up. I feel like, I guess, freer as a performer. Nothing has changed as far as the way people treat me. If anything, has been more positive. I've had more positive relationships with people. Obviously, there always is going to be negativity, mostly online on our myself and my boyfriend's YouTube channel. That's the only place we get a ton. Well, not a ton. I say for every maybe 300-400 positive comments, there's just one that's just awful. Like, I wouldn't even be able to say it on the air, which is why we're starting to dive into a lot of anti-cyberbullying campaigns to try and help stop that.
Well, I have a question for you. Darren Young came out a while ago, and do you look at him as a role model, as somebody that was able to, be a first and to stand up for people's rights in wrestling, whether they're gay or bi or straight. So
I do. I wasn't in the business then when he came out, but I did keep an eye on it because obviously it was a situation that I wanted to see how people would react. I think anybody who's in a similar situation has to thank Darren for being bold enough to take that step and kind of open doors for other people who are experiencing that.
When did you make the decision, and why did you make the decision to come out?
So I came out in 2 parts. So basically, I've been with my boyfriend since May. I met him in May of 2016, and unfortunately, which I say every time that I have an interview, like you should never do this to a person, but since I was closeted back then, I asked him to keep it, on the down low and keep it a secret, and I feel horrible about it, and I thank him, and I'm appreciative every day that he put up with that. And we decided to make this YouTube video. He wanted to start a YouTube channel, and we did a video called The Laughing Challenge. And in the beginning of the video, he goes, "Hey, I'm here. My name's Michael Pavano, and I'm here with my boyfriend, Anthony Bowens." And I was like, I don't know if we can use that little tidbit yet. And then I saw the disappointment in his face, and it broke my heart because, it wasn't right. I shouldn't have been doing that. So he said, "Go ahead and use the video, or use a little clip." And then a couple months later, I got a text from one of my best friends in the business, Damien. And he was like, "Dude, why didn't you tell me?" And my stomach dropped because obviously I knew what he was talking about, but I tried to play it off as if I didn't. And he goes, "I saw the video. All the guys saw the video. Nobody cares. We love you, respect you. You're a great performer. We just wish you would have said something sooner." And after he told me that, I just saw this trend of, my friends were always supportive of me. They were the first people that I told. My family is always super supportive of me. The wrestling community was supportive of me. And I'm in this great relationship. I have to say something, because those were all the things that I feared over the years.
Did you get a moment of clarity with your wrestling and the pressure being, relieved of having to weight that burden on your shoulders?
Yes,
Did
absolutely.
your wrestling get better? Did working outs get better? Did everything around your world get better? As
a performer, yeah, because I noticed specifically within the last year or so, my matches have been a lot more fun because I don't have the burden of hiding anything. I'm free to be who I am, so I just go out and I have fun all the time. And going back to the previous question, so after all that happened, I sat back and I literally pulled up my schedule and I picked a day, and I was like, it was the day after a WrestlePro show because I didn't want to come out and then have to do a show in front of people. I just wanted to have a little time to myself. I didn't tell anybody because I wanted the decision to be mine. I didn't want people influencing me. I didn't tell Mike, I didn't tell my parents, I didn't tell my friends. It was during a couple's board game night. I pulled out my phone. I said it was time. I wrote up a little message on Facebook. I sent it and I tossed my phone on the couch. I didn't want to see it. And about 45 minutes later, I told Mike to check his Facebook, and he turned around. He had the biggest smile on his face. I'll never forget it. And then we just sat together and read through all the messages. I think there was almost 1,000 of just completely, overwhelmingly positive messages and support. And that was a complete relief. And then down the road, I came out, to the world when I was approached by a writer for a website called Outsports, which I wasn't really familiar with. And he asked if I wanted to tell my story. So I said, "Okay, sure." And I wrote up this maybe 2 or 3 page thing just detailing everything that I went through, and I sent it into him. And I woke up the next day and my phone was melting because Outsports had posted it, then the Huffington Post picked it up and they were blasting it everywhere, and it just kind of went viral within the community. And I started receiving all these messages from people all over the entire planet thanking me and telling me their stories, and it was really, really emotional, and it was a sign that I had done the right thing.
It's so funny because when I saw it, I was kind of like, cool, Anthony's getting some publicity here. People are, people are finally getting to see Anthony, and it's going to get you known. Just that now people are going to be aware of you and your career. I think in 2018, that's the great thing as we're starting to grow as people and becoming more aware as people and understanding more. Mm-hmm. When you're going through the struggle of coming out, not coming out, and during that period when you weren't even letting your boyfriend post something where he mentions that you're your boyfriend, what did you think was going to happen? What did you think it was going to be, this big negative reaction? I mean, what was holding you back from doing that?
Well, I like to say it's the fear of the unknown because you have no idea of what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. Specifically, Honestly, if it wasn't for my wrestling career, I probably might have made the leap a little bit earlier, but I wasn't sure how the fans would react, how it would affect my career going forward. Would any of the boys have any problems with it? I might have to defend myself in the ring against somebody who may not share the same views that I do. So I was afraid it was going to affect me negatively in that realm.
Well, I can tell you right now, you're a big old dude. Wasn't nobody gonna try you. If you had been maybe like 100 pounds lighter, what are you, about 240, 260?
225.
You look bigger than that. I've seen some big arms before. Them not baby arms right there, man.
Well, thank you.
But what has been the reaction to the wrestling crowd? Because I know when you reached out to me when we wanted to do this interview today, it's kind of like the first time that you're going on a quote unquote wrestling show to talk about this. What has the reaction been from the wrestling crowd? Again,
it's been very positive. I feel like my connection with the crowd has been a lot better simply because the best wrestlers have that kind of like that intimate bond where they can kind of see that authentic, genuine person in the ring, and I think me being able to express myself that way has helped a lot.
Did you kind of maybe underestimate some of your friends and family by not telling them sooner?
No, I knew they would always be supportive, but it's still it's something that there is a slight question mark.
Mm-hmm.
But I first told my best friend in 2010, and he was super supportive, and then I kind of filled everybody else in on a need-to-know basis. The reason why I didn't tell my parents earlier is because I'm the only child. They worry about everything. Back in the day, especially how mothers are. And I'm her only baby. If I went outside to take out the garbage, she'd want to text to make sure I got there safely. I want to add that. I didn't want to.
I'm sure that was pretty stressful though. Having your parents. This is just, you don't want to talk about it with your parents anyway.
Yeah,
whether you're straight, gay, or bi, whatever. I'm sure that there was a lot of angst though when you got ready to say, "Hey, Mom, look, I need to talk to you about this." That would be a hard, stressful situation anyway.
It was, but they always make me feel comfortable and they support me through everything, so it ended up being pretty easy.
That's good. Talk about your wrestling career. I mean, because you are a wrestler, you're wrestling with Wrestle Pro. That Pat Buck's promotion. Has always been making waves in the Northeast. And how's your career been going? What's been going on? What are some matches that we can look forward to seeing?
It's been going quite well, honestly. I've been taking it a little bit easier because I'm trying to complete myself as a performer. I'm diving into a lot of the acting and modeling. And so back in 2015, I was fortunate enough to have a tryout with WWE down at the Performance Center. And when I got no, we don't have anything for you at this time, I tried to figure out why that was the answer. Because a couple months later, they put up the photo of the hiring class, and it was full of incredible talent. I was like, why am I not in there? Why am I not in this photo? And then it kind of all hit me after I reevaluated the 3 days there. I remember a line that they said on the third day that, we're not just a wrestling company anymore, we're an entertainment company. And then I was like, oh, I get it. Obviously, I'd been doing the right thing wrestling-wise. I was on the right track because I was 1.5 years, 2 years in, and I had already gotten on their radar enough to where they invited me down there. So that seemed to be good to go, and I was on the right track. However, what did I have to offer them other than being a good wrestler? Because they can be a dime a dozen. So I just so happened to have signed with a talent agency a year before, Silver Model Management, which is now BMG Talent. And I'd never taken advantage of that because I was so focused on trying to get down to the Performance Center. So I gave them a call and I was like, hey, I apologize. I haven't taken advantage of this. I want to become a more well-rounded performer. I want to do acting. I want to do modeling. I can make you money. I want to make myself money. What do we have to do here? And we sat down. We put together a plan. And after that, I started taking acting classes, commercial acting classes, improv classes. I did live sketch comedy shows, live improv shows. I was fortunate enough to land my first commercial, regional commercial with Optum Online, national commercial with Lunchables. I was just in the Super Bowl commercial, or supposed to be featured in the Super Bowl commercial with Eli Manning and Odell
Beckham, yeah.
And then we ended up jobbing out to the actual Giants lineman, which was disappointing, but it was a fun 2 days.
Not everybody can say I was in a Super Bowl commercial.
Yeah.
So be proud.
And then I was like, well, I'm doing well with this. I'm going to try to do modeling stuff. And then within a couple of months, I landed my first spread in DNA magazine Australia. And then, as you said before, I was on the cover of Attitude magazine, their body issue, just recently. So I wanted to try and do everything I can, to make myself a well-rounded performer, not just a quality wrestler.
And this is a question for both you guys. I mean, because this is something that's never going to happen to me. But what's it like when you walk into a store and there's magazines and you see your face on the cover of a magazine?
I do a little dance. I don't know about
No, right? But do you remember the first time that you saw yourself on a cover of a magazine?
Yeah, I bought all of them. they sold out that day. I bought them all.
Do you remember what magazine it was? Was it like a Pro Wrestling Illustrated? Was it WWF magazine?
The first cover that I can remember was Outside magazine, and I was lifting a car. They, picked up this like.
You say a car?
Yeah, well, I mean, it was a photo shoot, so I wasn't actually lifting the car, but they had it to where it looked like I was lifting the car, and I walked in and saw it on the shelf, and I was just like, oh my God, like I couldn't believe it. Like I knew I did it, but it was just shocking to me, and I bought like 8 or 12 of them, however many it was on the shelf.
Well, yeah, Anthony, you do know he's the world's strongest man. If he wanted to, he can lift up this entire studio.
Not anymore.
Yeah, well, yeah, but time, does have Father Time's undefeated.
Undefeated.
So, what was it like for you?
It didn't really hit me until I physically got the copy, because when you see it online, it's just kind of digital. It's like, wow, that's really, really cool. But then when you're holding it physically in your hands and like, this is my face printed on this thing, and it's all like shipping worldwide. It's surreal.
That's so cool. I mean, like again, I saw you in the really early days of your career when you were first started to come up, and to see you like at the IWF and learning how to cut a promo and learning those early days, and to see where you are now. I mean, do you look back at it and said, it's a lot of time, but it's really not that much time from where you started from to where you are right now?
Well, actually, I started I never trained at IWF. I started completely with WrestlePro with Pat Buck.
Okay.
So I was doing 1 or 2 shows for Kevin back then.
Okay, it was at his shows. Okay.
But what was the question again? I forgot.
No, I mean, even though it's a lot of time, it's really not that much time from where you started to where you are right now.
5 years is really not a lot in the grand scheme of things, but I don't know, kind of feels like forever, but it doesn't at the same time.
What's next for you?
I don't know. I kind of take things day by day as the opportunities are presented to me. I'm just going to continue to try and become a better performer, become a better wrestler, become a better actor, and continue to try and help people as best we can. I say my boyfriend and I, we're trying to use our platform. We have a YouTube channel now. Michael and Anthony, we're up about, I think we're at 40,000 subscribers or something. So we're trying to use that platform to try and spread a message of positivity.
That's cool. Do you consider yourself a body guy? Like the term in wrestling, you see guys that heavily muscled, like bodybuilder type of look, like is heavily into their nutrition.
Yeah.
Are you one of the body guys? You really strong on what you eat and how much fat and sugar content? Or are you just a naturally big dude?
I'm obsessed with being in the gym, but one of my weaknesses is my diet. I try my best to try and eat as clean as possible, but then I end up seeing Gertrude Hawk chocolate, and then I buy about 10 bars, or I'm at Chipotle or something. I try my best to stay or eat as clean as possible. I end up failing, but I do spend a lot of time in the gym. I did have a point where where I was lifting really, really heavy, and I was kind of focused on having more of a bigger body frame, because I used to be... Well, back when I was a kid, I used to be really skinny, but I just felt like I needed to have this huge presence in the ring.
We'd have looked like a number 10 if we'd have stood together as kids, because I was round. You were thin. They said, oh, the number 10. I wish y'all could see Dave. That was a big pop from Dave.
Anthony, how
And
can
as you can see, we clowns here,
yeah, man.
I love it.
Listen, Anthony, you can come by here anytime. Really appreciate you stopping by the studio. How can fans get in touch with you?
You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Bowens_official. And then you could check out, I have 2 YouTube channels, one with my boyfriend, which is Michael and Anthony. And then the other one is just Anthony Bowens, which is a bunch of my wrestling matches.
And what show do you have coming up wrestling?
Honestly, I can't remember them off the top of my head, so I always blast them out on social media, so find them all there.
All right, Anthony, thank you so much for the time today. And again, as far as the anti-bullying and stuff, it's something that's a strong cause, and I'm so glad that you finally made the decision to be you, because I think everyone's going to fall in love with you. So thanks so much for the time today.
No, thank you guys.